In April 2024, Iran fired over 300 missiles and drones at Israel. Most were intercepted. The world exhaled. And then, almost immediately, the headlines moved on. That was a mistake, because what Iran launched wasn't a desperation move. It was a demonstration, and if you don't understand what kind of missiles those were, and what Iran is quietly building toward, you missed the entire story. Let's rewind. The last 3 years have seen Iran execute what military analysts quietly call a graduated escalation strategy. It's not random. It's not reactive. There's a doctrine behind it. Iran sits in one of the most hostile geopolitical neighborhoods on the planet. To its west, a nuclear-armed Israel backed by the United States. To its north and east, fragile states that American and Russian forces have operated through for decades. To its south, Gulf monarchies hosting American military bases. Iran has no conventional military that can match these forces. It has no air force capable of projecting serious power. It doesn't have, at least not officially, a nuclear weapon. What it does have is ballistic missiles and a very deliberate strategy for using them. Here's the thing most people don't understand. Iran's missile program isn't just a deterrent, it's a signal. Every time Iran fires, whether at Israel, at US bases in Iraq and Syria, or through Houthi proxies in Yemen, it's sending a message about capability. It's saying, look what we can reach. Look what we can carry. Look what we haven't done yet. That gap between what they've shown and what they're holding back is where the real danger lives. Let's get the basics right, because this is where most coverage falls apart. Journalists say, ballistic missile, like it's self-explanatory. It's not. A ballistic missile is, at its core, a rocket that follows a curved arc, a ballistic trajectory. It launches vertically, leaves the atmosphere, and then falls back down onto its target using gravity and momentum. Unlike a cruise missile, which flies low and can be steered the whole time, a ballistic missile is mostly unguided after the boost phase. It's a cannonball, not a drone. That distinction matters enormously for 2 reasons. First, ballistic missiles are fast, hypersonically fast in their terminal phase. Iran's Shahab-3 and its descendants, the Ahmad, the Khorramshahr, the Fatah, travel at speeds between Mach 8 and Mach 15 as they descend. That means a missile fired from Iranian territory reaches Israel in roughly 12 minutes. 12 minutes is not enough time to make confident decisions. It's barely enough time to scramble interceptors. Second, ballistic missiles are harder to intercept than people think. Yes, Israel's Arrow system and the US THAAD platform can intercept many of them. But interception is a probability game, not a guarantee. Each intercept costs between $1 million and $10 million per missile. Iran can fire hundreds. Do the math. Now here's where it gets more complicated, and this is the part nobody's explaining clearly enough. The word you need to know is MIRV, Multiple Independently Targetable Re-entry Vehicles. A MIRV-capable missile doesn't carry one warhead, it carries several, and those warheads separate from the main body of the missile above the atmosphere, then fall independently toward different targets. One missile launch. Multiple impact points. You can overwhelm a defense system simply by giving it more math problems than it can solve simultaneously. The United States has MIRV capability, Russia has it, China has it, and Iran, according to assessments from the IAEA, the US Defense Intelligence Agency, and multiple independent analysts, is actively developing it. Iran hasn't confirmed this publicly. It doesn't need to. The development is visible through satellite imagery of their test infrastructure, the design characteristics of the Khorramshahr 4, and missile debris analysis from the April 2024 strikes. So when Iran fires missiles into a conflict, it's not just using a weapon, it's running a live test of a future MIRV delivery system. Every launch is data. Iran doesn't fire missiles randomly. There's a hierarchy to how it uses them, and understanding that hierarchy is key to understanding where we are right now. Think of it as a ladder. Each rung represents a higher level of commitment, cost, and risk. The bottom rung: proxy launches. Iran arms Hezbollah, the Houthis, Kataib Hezbollah, and other militant groups with ballistic missiles and rocket systems. These groups fire on Iran's behalf. Iran gets deniability. The message still gets sent. The second rung: Iranian-affiliated drone and missile strikes on U.S. military bases. There have been over 170 such attacks since October 2023. Most caused limited casualties, but they established something important. Iran can hit U.S. forces directly, and it chose to do so at a level calibrated to avoid triggering a full U.S. military response. The third rung: direct Iranian state missile attacks. This is what happened in April 2024. Iran fired ballistic missiles directly from its own soil at a foreign country, Israel, for the first time in modern history. It crossed a threshold that most analysts thought was years away. Here's what that escalation ladder tells us. Iran is not a reckless actor. It's a calculated one. It moves up the ladder deliberately, tests responses, and stops short of the point where it calculates the cost becomes existential. The problem is, every step up that ladder normalizes the one before it. The world reacted with shock when Iran struck Israel directly. If it happens again, and the strategic logic suggests it will, the shock will be smaller. The pressure to respond will be smaller. Iran will have effectively moved the Overton window of acceptable behavior using ballistic missiles as its instrument. That's not just military strategy, that's geopolitical engineering. Now we need to talk about the part of this story that makes Western governments genuinely nervous, and which almost no mainstream coverage explains clearly. When we talk about a fission warhead, we're talking about a nuclear weapon. Specifically, the type that uses nuclear fission chain reactions to release catastrophic amounts of energy. This is the same basic physics behind the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A fission weapon works by splitting the nucleus of a heavy atom, typically uranium-235 or plutonium-239. When that nucleus splits, it releases neutrons, which split more nuclei, which releases more neutrons. A chain reaction that in microseconds releases the energy equivalent of thousands of tons of conventional explosives. The yield of a basic fission weapon is measured in kilotons. Hiroshima was 15 kilotons. Modern miniaturized fission warheads can be as small as a few kilotons, while still being militarily decisive if used against a city, a port, a military base, or an energy infrastructure hub. Here's the strategic connection to Iran's ballistic missiles. A missile program only becomes a fission delivery system if two things happen. First, the missile must be accurate enough to reliably hit within a defined radius of a target. Second, the warhead must be small enough, what engineers call miniaturized, to fit inside the missile's re-entry vehicle. Iran has been working on both. The AMAD missile, unveiled in 2015, was specifically described by Iranian officials as having a re-entry vehicle designed to carry a maneuverable warhead. The phrase maneuverable warhead has one primary application in modern military technology. It's how you deliver a nuclear payload accurately. Iran insists its nuclear program is entirely civilian. The IAEA disagrees. In a 2022 report, inspectors found traces of uranium enriched to 84% purity at the Fordo facility, just below the 90% threshold considered weapons grade. Iran's explanation was described by nuclear physicists publicly as not technically credible. As of mid-2024, Iran is estimated to have enough enriched uranium for multiple nuclear devices if it chose to proceed to weapons manufacture. The gap between having the material and having a deliverable weapon is called breakout time. Iran's breakout time is now measured in weeks, not months or years. That's the context in which you have to read every Iranian missile launch. They're not just showing you a missile, they're showing you the delivery system for a weapon they haven't built yet, and making sure you know they could build it. The Western response to Iran's missile escalation has followed a predictable and increasingly ineffective pattern. Sanctions, condemnations, Security Council meetings where Russia and China veto anything with teeth. Occasional cyber attacks. Stuxnet in 2010 damaged Iranian centrifuges significantly, but Iran rebuilt and accelerated. The Abraham Accords were partly designed to isolate Iran diplomatically, but Iran responded by deepening ties with Russia and China, particularly through weapons transfers and energy deals. None of this has stopped the missile program. Iran's defense budget for missile development has increased in real terms every year since 2015, despite the sanctions regime. The reason is simple. Missiles are Iran's insurance policy. They're the thing that keeps the Islamic Republic in power by making any regime change attempt too costly to attempt. You cannot sanction a country into giving up the thing that guarantees its survival. Here's my take. And I want to be direct about this, because most analysis on this topic is either too hawkish or too naive. Iran's missile escalation is working, not because it's winning wars, not because it's defeating anyone, but because it's achieving its strategic objective, which is preventing Iran from being attacked while preserving the option to attack others.